Hey guys, this is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we're back with another Michigan recruiting report. We're going to be talking about 5 recruits that were really impressed with Michigan's national championship win over Washington. Before we do that, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the Wolverine.com today for just $1 for 1 month. Also, like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. All right, let's kick things off with top 100 2024 wide receiver Gatlin Bear. Now, we mentioned him last week after the win in the Rose Bowl over Alabama, but once again, just really impressed with what Michigan did on the field. And we keep mentioning Bear because he is the lone remaining target in the 2024 recruiting class. We are talking about a guy who's a top 50 recruit nationally who runs in the 10.2s in the 100 meter, can come in and be a big difference maker and game changer in Michigan's offense. Now, of course, unfortunately with Bear, you have to wait 2 years since he's taking a 2-year mission and won't enroll at the school of his choice until 2026. But Michigan still values him like a 2024. I mean, they've made him a top priority since the beginning of the cycle, and they understand what he can do for the offense. Right now Michigan has the lead on the On3 recruiting prediction machine, but Oregon has closed the gap. This recruitment is getting a little more interesting, though, as Oregon head coach Dan Lanning is rumored to be the lead candidate to replace Nick Saban at Alabama. Now, Bear still has some question marks about Jim Harbaugh's future, but it looks like he'll soon have some question marks about Dan Lanning's future. So it puts his decision in a little bit of limbo heading into the February signing period. So it'll be interesting to see what Bear decides to do. But I think the national championship win gives Michigan a little bit of an extra push. He actually had a chance to talk to Ron Bellamy before the game, as well as Donovan Edwards, who went out and scored 2 big touchdowns. And he's a guy that, is very magnetic. And I think getting him on the phone with Gatlin Bear was before the game, and then having him have that performance ended up being a pretty big deal to him. So Gatlin Bear was obviously impressed with the Natty. Next on the list is Marquise Davis, man. Marquise Davis is a kid that Michigan fans should talk about a lot more. On 300 athlete out of Cleveland, can play on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. I really like him as a running back. He is extremely explosive. He has a ton of speed. He's well built at 5'11", 200 pounds. I'm calling it right now. I'm going to say Marquise Davis ends up being ranked higher than Jordan Marshall was this cycle. I think Marquise Davis is a special prospect. He can be a complete difference maker in Michigan's backfield and help continue the tradition of really strong runners under Mike Hart. Michigan has been gaining some momentum in his recruitment. After the game, he told Zach that his interest has increased even more. So yeah, I think Michigan has a legitimate chance to go into Ohio and beat out Ohio State for Marquise Davis, much like they did with Jordan Marshall. So yeah, I think Marquise Davis is a phenomenal player. I think the interest is rising. And even though it looks kind of scary to have Ohio State have the lead on the RPM and for Davis to be an Ohio native, I think Michigan is making a really big impact in his recruitment. Next up on the list is top 100 wide receiver Khik Lockett in the 2025 recruiting class. Michigan was considered a favorite for Lockett early on in the process, and now Texas has taken the lead for Lockett on the RPM. But I think this Natty can help Michigan, fend off the Longhorns. Michigan didn't really toss the ball a ton, but he knows he can come in and add a different element to Michigan's offense, much like Gatlin Bear. He has a really strong relationship with Ron Bellamy, also has a strong relationship with Alex Orji, who attended the same high school. And I think Lockett seeing Orji out on the field, even though, it was probably just for a few plays, I think that really impressed him as well. But yeah, I mean, after the game, he talked about Michigan being back on the throne of college football, just seemed really genuinely excited about Michigan winning the national championship. So even though Texas has gained some momentum here recently. I think Michigan's national championship gave him a lot more to think about. So the Wolverines are still very much legitimate contenders in the race for Lockett. Next up on the list is top 100 defensive lineman Ethan Utley out of Nashville. So Utley has a connection to Michigan as well. He's actually a teammate of 2024 signee Mason Curtis. So that friendship is going a long way. Curtis is actively recruiting Utley to join him at Michigan. You see, Tennessee is the leader on the on-3 recruiting prediction machine, but Utley actually released a top 5 recently. It included Michigan. Like I said, you have the Curtis connection. He's a guy that's been on Michigan's board for a long time. He picked up an offer early last year. Steve Clinkscale's done a great job there. Mike Elston's done a great job. He visited for the Ohio State game and was impressed with that win. And he was especially impressed with the Natty. He talked about Mason Graham having a dominant game. And I think Utley can see himself kind of in the same mold of a Graham and a Chris Jenkins. I think he would be more suited for the Jenkins role, but I think just the dominant play of the entire defensive line from Graham to Jenkins to Kenneth Grant really moved the needle with him. If you're a high-level defensive lineman and you see Jenkins, Graham, and Grant, I mean, you have to be really excited about potentially playing under Mike Elston in that defensive scheme for a defensive coordinator, that has NFL experience. So Utley was one that seemed really, really fired up about Michigan's Natty win. And lastly, it's top 100 cornerback Dwayne Galloway. We talked about Marquise Davis earlier. Well, Galloway is another Ohio native that Michigan can pull out of enemy territory. Right now, Michigan actually has the lead on the on-3 recruiting prediction machine with 32.2% chance of landing him. If you're Dwayne Galloway and you're a taller corner at 6'2", 175, and you're highly touted, and you see what Will Johnson did on the field on Monday night, helping shut down some of those explosive Washington receivers, coming away with an interception. I mean, you have to be really excited about potentially filling those shoes. Ohio State has not offered Galloway, so he might have a bit of a chip on his shoulder, a la Rod Moore, especially being a Columbus kid. So, yeah, I think Michigan has a legit chance with Galloway, and his response after the game was very simple. It was, who has it better than us? Nobody, talking like he's already part of the team. So definitely a big impact with Galloway. So those are 5 recruits that Michigan really moved the needle with after their national title win over Washington. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for free, and subscribe to the Wolverine.com for just $1 for 1 month.